You are listening to The Remedy.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Remedy. James Thompson here. Glad to be with you all. Today, my heart and prayers go out to the people I was watching on the news about the bridge. I believe it's outside in Maryland. It really caught my attention. Hearts and prayers go out to those people that had loved ones involved with this situation. I've been kind of glued to the news, just kind of hearing about it and, just processing events around the world and things of that nature. So today, one of the things that I get asked a lot when I'm talking to someone who is dealing with this kind of, it's kind of in the idea of how long is it going to take or something of that nature. And I noticed that most of the time the process, of course, is a lot more strenuous than we anticipated. And what I mean in the process, I don't know what process you're in, so I'm just kind of generalizing, but I'm meaning if you're trying to rebuild something, if you're trying to get your, a certain aspect of your life back together, if you're, trying to overcome grief, just like we're seeing people today. And people are really concerned with how long is it going to take? And, from the point of, where I work and try to help people, that is something that I just don't know. I don't have any magic answers for that, nor does anybody for that matter, and I wouldn't expect them to. I think most reasonable people would tell you that it takes as long as it does. And that's really kind of sometimes a slap in our face, right? When somebody says, well, you just got to keep going and keep getting through it, and they've got all these great power chants for you, but it just doesn't help in the moment, right? In the moment, we're getting faced with these things and emotions and feelings, and it doesn't feel like it's really solving itself. But today, there's a concept that works in these matters, all right? And just like anything, I want to preface this by saying I don't want to sit here and just throw out useless stuff and tell you that it works or sound like I'm a know-it-all, because I'm not. I'm still constantly learning. I'm still making constant mistakes. I'm still atoning for stuff that I've done. I'm always, I believe, in the baker's oven. You know what I mean? I'm not quite done yet. I'm always in the process of almost being, So I'm struggling too. So a lot of what I share with you is a lot of what I do. So I just wanted that to be clear, because I know a lot of times we listen to people and they come off like they just got it all together and they can fly and all this stuff. And, I don't want that to be the perception of me, because I am a person who is trying to put this together too. The main focus or the main reason why I do these is so people don't feel alone. And maybe they hear someone just kind of naturally speaking about how to maybe work a situation different, how to get through something. I don't know. I just know that I wish that there was a voice for me at those times, and now I'm just trying to provide it. So that's just a little bit of that. But the thing that, when we're in these moments where we're waiting and we don't see something happening, we kind of have to use a new skill, right? And it's very challenging to draw out on its own, because there are many things that fight against you leaning into this type of thinking, because it just isn't natural according to what has been done thus far. Now, it is natural enough that you can do it and it does work, but because there is no past history of doing it, there is a struggle. It's almost like the whole working out concept. For the first couple of weeks to a month or whatever you're into it, you may not see any results. Then maybe month 2, you start to see a little bit better, or you start to feel better about going. Month 3, maybe now we're making some strides. See, that's kind of the progression of how this works too, because it's all just related to how much you do into something, right? So when we start looking at things and how we don't see the work or we don't see what's changing, we have to use this principle called reframing. Now, reframing is just as simple as it sounds. We have to change the mental picture of what we see in order to produce a better experience or emotion from it. And the idea is when we look at something, we have to look behind the scenes. The thing that I often do, and I don't know if anybody else out there is like me, but I guess I could be a little strange. But I always, when I see pictures or when people show me pictures, my eyes sometimes will lead me to the picture in the back of the picture. Like you may have the two subjects or a subject in front, right? That is the main focus. But if you ever take the time to look behind pictures or look behind what is the object of focus, there are so many other things going on. Like I've noticed funny faces. I've noticed maybe somebody doing something embarrassing, like picking their nose. There's just funny stuff happening behind it. And, or sometimes, if people aren't ready, it creates that kind of funny face and, so I'm always kind of observing what is behind. And, in this situation, this is a skill to develop as well, because it'll help you look behind the scenes of what's going on. It's like when you go to a production or a play, if you saw behind the scenes of the set, it looks very rudimentary. It's like a couple of 2x4s holding up some big, drywall things and everything. And, it's not as elaborate on the back side of it as it is on the front side. The front side is where all the scenery is, but behind it, which we don't see, is just the kind of staging of it, how it comes together. But when we look at that framework behind it, we know that it is the part of the play, right? It is consistent with the play. It's the things that are needed. And there was time and effort built in those to do what it does. Just like in our situation, as we're going through something and we don't see what's happening, there is a framework being designed. There is a framework being constructed to hold up better thoughts. If you allow them to be built, if you allow those frames to be built, there are better thoughts that can be projected about the current situation, the time it's taking, the delay in the moment. There are things to notice along the way if you start to reframe your mind back to a place where it now extracts better data, right? Your brain has to get better at extracting better data from what's happening rather than it sucks, right? If your brain is just revolved around how awful this is and what it's doing to you and all that, your brain just tends to get in agreement with you, right? Because you are leading it in this effort, because you're using not only your words, but you're using your mind. You are now constructing this dim reality, and your brain has to function in it. And what you do is you start shooting it into protecting yourself, because it starts to figure out that the plan is to be as maybe impassionate, right? We're not moving forward. We're not doing anything. So we're lacking the passion. So the brain starts to dull itself in the thoughts. That's why it feels so hard to get something new going and stick with it, because the brain has already dulled itself, kind of dug itself into this thing. But you can jolt it. You can jolt it out of that, but you now have to do something that you haven't done before, and possibly looking behind what's really going on and say, hey, maybe there's some other stuff to notice. Okay, so maybe I am not where I want to be right now, but what have I done that has been good up to this point? What am I doing that's good? Because if we can dwell on what we're doing good, now we can at least incorporate these better thoughts to get better outcomes. We have to kind of go inside of this a little bit and just kind of reach into it and say, wait a minute. Okay, so it's not everything that it's supposed to be, or it's not moving as fast as I like, or it's not what I would have, I wouldn't have it this way. But inside of this, behind the scene, is something being constructed, which is now depending on your better thoughts. Because the outcome lies in your better thoughts. The outcome lies in what you intend to do about it in your mind first. Your mind has to conceptualize what it's going to do first before you can move on into it being done. You have to agree with something. So when people ask me about that, and I have to tell them that I'm not sure how long it's going to take, or how long something could just challenge them. I have to tell them that it's a personal kind of journey, and no one else can really go through it for you, but they can give you the aid that you need to get through it, but no one can go through it for you. So as long as it takes, as long as you're looking for the things that are good, even while it's worse. There's a verse that I always look at, and it always kind of reminds me. It says, and I'll just paraphrase it. It says, but when you're in desperate times, when you're in trouble, when the tribulation is high, when troubles around you are coming at you, just all around, it says, count it all joy. And that really stuck with me, because I think in those moments we lose all happiness when we're up against something challenging, or we're up against the opposition of something, right? But what we're reminded to do is slow down and count it joy. Count these tests, or count these things, or these obstacles as what they are producing in us, what they're doing behind the scenes, what the framework is being, designed to do for later on. Because this moment will pass. These moments of insecurity will pass as long as you are actively extracting some things out of this that can move you forward. Now, if we're stuck and we've allowed the brain to get dull and we're not interested in moving forward, then we're pretty much set. But if you are, and I think if you're listening to this, you're learning how to move your brain out of things that kind of almost deconstruct its, power, right? Like troubling situations, challenging situations, bad energies, backbiting, people who aren't honest. All these things are the challenges that trouble us, right? That get us in these moments where we feel like nothing is happening, because we're constantly being challenged emotionally. We're constantly feeling emotionally drained. So the situation that we're in doesn't have, we can't put our energy into it, because we're just drained. So it seems overwhelming. And we start calling things overwhelming that really aren't. And we start missing the things along the way that will get us to the next stop. Because there's things along the way while you're going through something that's not what you want. There's things along the way that will help you, at least A, not to repeat where you are if it was something that you feel you did, or B, give you more wisdom about next time, or things ahead of you, or could be to help someone else. So drawing that in is big, and I hope that kind of gave you a little bit of the, the background to maybe the waiting time. That maybe while you're waiting, let's do something better with our thoughts. While we're waiting, let's control some of this outside influence that's telling us it's taking too long. Let's say it's going at the right speed.
You are listening to The Remedy.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Jay Thompson. Appreciate you guys. Live your best you.